Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously wherever you are now, then. I would say 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 8, 7, 6, 5, 11. There we are with my juicy little hearts. But I'm outside at the moment, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? But if you actually look at the headspace here and you look at behind me, it's getting, there we are, taller and taller. There we are. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? So, you know, when I was complaining about my fence, I think I feel that what I'm doing is let's just say I'm changing my mind, my delicious babies. And the reason why, because I got my beautiful and delicious dear little, they're so beautiful, my beautiful dear little family upstairs. Our beautiful dear little baby now then, she's full Spanish. And her dear husband to be, there we are, is Indian. And they've just, which I can say it now, they've just had their beautiful and wonderful dear little beautiful little baby son. Okay, my delicious little babies, and of course their eldest beautiful and wonderful little baby son. They're just such a beautiful family. And the little baby there now, he's so, you know, let's just say, you know, little babies, little bands, yes, okay, you can give them a hug and they know, there we are, that you're fully, there we are, safe. There we are. Do you know what I mean? My delicious babies, Kai. So for myself, in my close, circle of my lovely and dear little neighbours, well, there we are. All the mummies and daddies know, there we are, that I'm safe. Do you follow me? But in the world, what's been going on for decades, my delicious babies, that's not the case. Okay. Okay. So I would do anything, there we are, to protect these babies. There we are here. Okay. And my beautiful and delicious dear little friends, you know, they're beautiful little babies, grandbairns and everything. Especially as well, my dear little daughters. You know, once they've had their careers and everything, you know, then they have their little babies, you know what I mean? I make a point, there we are, of saying that. You see what I mean? I don't want a baby having a baby now then. Do you follow me? But let me tell you, if anybody wants to touch a hair on their heads, there we are, then you see a different side of me. There we are. That ones really wouldn't want to see. Do you see what I mean? My delicious babies, there we are, because that's the way I operate, do you know what I mean? It's like you protect. So, yes, I got to hold, because I always get to give, you know, like a little hug to their beautiful little baby. And I hug our beautiful dear little mama and papa, there we are, Papa Bear, and their beautiful dear little, especially with our beautiful little babies, dear little Mama Bear, Spanish, you know, when she comes over. Oh, we have so many, there we are, so many hugs and kisses. Do you understand what I mean? Okay. She cannot talk English, no, but that does not matter. You know, she wants to translate something, she does it on her dog and bone, you know what I mean? Okay, that's, there we are, how she drops it. Do you understand what I mean? Okay. But such a beautiful little family. And I had the privilege of holding, for the first time, and serving my beautiful dear little friend Kaz. Oh, our beautiful little baby now. He's only tiny. He's like this. Oh, he's just so sweet. Honestly, and honestly, we held him and and I was like, you know, like this, and then he went like that, you know, with his little tiny hands. He's got tiny, tiny, tiny little hands, and then, you know, and he went like that to me, you know what I mean? And he was just resting. And when my beautiful, dear little friend Cassie was just, he was just so at home. You know what I mean? He just felt so comfortable with both of us. You see what I mean, mad babies? Because we're not here for the evil. You see what I mean, mad little babies, okay? But there's plenty, there we are, who are in higher. Went dark then. Paid jobs, shall we say, mad little babies, you know what I mean? You know, like the ones who vote for others, okay? Imagine, there we are, they're dirty fetishes now. There we are, mad little babies, you know what I mean? Of course, you know, Jimmy Savile, as we all very well know, he catered for a lot of this, didn't he? And of course, you know, if we go back to Top of the Pops, you know, and everything like this. Anyway, I could talk about, there we are, loads of things now, but really, that's not, you know, what I want to talk about right now, mad babies, because quite frankly, it's disgusting and damn rank. Okay, mad babies, okay, but when you have a beautiful little baby, or a beautiful, what we call our beautiful little sons and daughters, beautiful little and large birds, little and large animals and creatures great and small all over the world, why would somebody want to deliberately harm them? That's the question that I'm asking, mad babies, you know what I mean? Because if I knew personally, there we are, personally, that somebody, there we are, was doing something now that they shouldn't be doing, let me tell you, they wouldn't like to see me at their door. So I'm not inciting anything mad to just babies. I'm just, there we are, just done telling it the way it is. They wouldn't like to see me at their door. I would be, there we are, the worst nightmare, there we are, that they could ever, there we are, wish to imagine. Do you understand what I mean? Mad little babies, yes. So every little baby and every little, our beautiful little animals, little and large birds, everything, creatures great and small, there we are, they're our blessing to our world and must never, ever in a million years be harmed. Let's just go back to, in our old England, mad little babies, you know what I mean? Hampstead. You only have to look it up on YouTube, mad little babies, okay? So, as far as I'm concerned, those little bands there now, as far as I'm concerned, and I mentioned this years ago, there we are, okay, mad little babies, okay? They're not telling lies. Liar, 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 bums on fire. They're not doing it. They're telling, there we are, what their mummy and daddy, there we are, fully knew about in a little village in Hampstead, in our old England, mad little babies. Do you follow me? Okay, so it goes on everywhere. Anyway, there's more emerging, isn't there, to do with Madeleine McCann? Yes, yeah, so they've rolled this out again. Okay, mad little babies. Now, for some of you, you probably will listen to what I've just said and just think, well, she's just a damn bitch for what she just said. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And the reason why I'm not mad little babies, okay, is because one of my beautiful and dear little friends of mine, okay, how I love her so, to this day, I will never say anyone's names, okay? The fact of the matter is that she spent years worried sick. There we are, worried sick about Madeleine McCann, mad little babies, okay? And who her husband is, okay? I knew from when I was 11, and he was ex SAS and ex Old Bill, okay? Mad little babies, okay? And then he was a security guard and everything like this now then, okay? And of course, you know, bless his beautiful dear little soul, not in that way, not in that way. He'd work at 24, there we are, 7, okay? But when he heard about the Madeleine McCann business, he said, this is something to do with the... I do not like this word parents. I've had to deprogram myself, okay, because they have created this word parents, not us, you and I, Madeleine babies, okay? But at the time, he said, the parents, there we are involved in this. There we are. And that is what he said all those years back, mad little babies, you see what I mean? And my beautiful, dear little friend, very sadly, of course, you know, she went through all of the jibby jabs. You know what I mean? Mad little babies, when, of course, the dear husband thought, there we are, that these ding, ding, dong, dong, so-called white Kurts, there we are, were there to help her. Well, no, there wasn't actually. You know what I mean? And she ended up, there we are, in a very serious condition, which she should never have been. You know what I mean? They actually made them more poorly mad babies. There we are. So that's why I advise to anybody not to go to these putrid, not to go to them. Just watch where you're walking. There we are. Something's just making me say this. Watch where you're walking. Watch you don't trip up on your damn self. You know what I mean? We've all done that. Have a little trip here and there. You know what I mean? I don't mean that kind of trip. Okay, mad babies. But as long as you're just careful about what you're doing, you do not need these putrid places. But of course, you know, now they're funding, what is it? Ka-ching, ching, ching. More and more and more, you know, supposedly, you know, to make the NHS better. I don't think so. When ones understand now, there we are. We're all on the same song sheet. Okay, my delicious little babies, but yes. So that's what I have to say there, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Now then, my delicious little babies. So, can I please just say there we are? You know, maybe I just got a little bit carried away there now, looking in the camera. You know what I mean, my delicious little babies, yeah? Okay then. So I have a couple of bits of information, but first of all, could I please uh, say beautiful, not in that way, not in that way with anybody, beautiful, dear little trending on Iconic, okay, which is on YouTube. You can also find beautiful little davidark.com, okay, my delicious babies, so you can find the information there. Okay, absolutely fantastic. I think they have now 7.8 thousand subscribers, my delicious babies. Fan Dabby Dursey. And then we've got our beautiful, dear little UK column. Space News, so it's all spaces, my delicious babies can. And they're now up to 15.7 thousand subscribers, my delicious babies. How fan Dabby Dursey. And the latest video, my delicious babies, of our lovely UK column, okay, because our lovely, iconic, trending, iconic on YouTube, or like I said, our lovely davidite.com, you can find the information in birthplaces. Okay, my little babies. Sorry, I never needed to stumble there. I'm just trying to talk as fast as I can. Okay, so this latest one, and our lovely dear UK column, which you can also go to their proper website, like, you know, our lovely UK column, our lovely davidart.com, okay, because there we are, you can purchase different things, and also there we are tickets, because where they're going to be travelling, there we are too, okay, my delicious babies, you know me, I'm just like, let's just say nobody has to pay for my adverts, you know what I mean? I just deliver it. Do you know what I'm saying, man? Just baby, yes, okay. Anyway, oh, take the notice. You know what? I do it. There we are. From the heart. I do it from the heart, man. Just babies, because I just love them so much. You know, not in that way, not in that way, but I just love them so much. There we are. I really do. You know, true to my heart. Not in that way, not in that way. You know what I mean? But I just have so much admiration. Anyway, that's just how I feel, my delicious little babies. Can't I have my favourites, you know what I mean? Of course, you know, that doesn't mean no. I have my favourites, you know what I mean? My delicious little babies. Okay, so for myself, no, they're just absolutely, there we are, banging. Talk proper common sense, ding ding dong dong, there we are, and that's what we need in the world. And once again, I never needed to stumble there. Okay, my delicious little babies, so there we are, they're just done telling you the way it is. Okay, there we are. Simple things. But this latest one on a UK space column, space news on our old YouTube, Maddish babies, like I said, 15.8 thousand now with all of them. There we go. Fan Dabby Dursey. That's what I love to see. You know what I mean? Okay. You see, if one's all, there we are, joined together, okay? But of course, there's certain who do not want to be in our clique. You know what I mean? Maddish babies, which means, what do I mean by our clique? What I mean is that maybe, you know, ones do not wish to be, there we are, associated with the likes of any of us. There we are. Mads babies. They just do not want to be associated with us. They'd rather stay on the side where they're getting paid their ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Just like China got the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching to do the old communism now. Do you know what I mean, Mads babies? Kai, where do you think they compare the army now? They can pay everybody. And yet that piece of shark now then with big fat bags under his eyes. And what has he got, a dancer as a Mrs. whatever she is? I'm sure that she'll stick with him, isn't it? For the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Because you see, in my world, my delicious little babies, if you're with somebody, there we are. You're with somebody to your heart, from the heart now, from the heart. So this is not about pounds, shilling, pence, dollars and change. It's not about what you can make out of somebody else now then. Because I do not need that shart in my life. I went through that flipping 30 odd years ago, you know what I mean? And even then I never even wanted to be involved in it. Anyway, that's another story for another day. The fact of the matter is that with the way that I am, there we are, before I even say it, I work, there we are, from my heart, you know what I mean? So whatever I walk in with, let me tell you, right, I don't want no change when I'm walking out. And of course, I do not mean that in a nasty way. What I'm saying is that, one would hope that you stay in a beautiful and loving situation. But if something changed, no. I just walk, isn't it? I've done it long time, there we are, in my life. This is why in my relationships, my long-term relationships, this is why they got paid off with me now, you know what I mean? There we are. Do you know what I mean? Because as much as you can ka-ching, I never had that with my daughter's dad. No, I never. He would give me, there we are, anything I wanted, okay? But I never had that kind of situation. But I've experienced another couple of relationships, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Where they just think that ching, ching, ching just solves everything. Well, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Anyway, I've just overrun my tail, old-fashioned Irish saying, my delicious little babies, there we are, if you know what I mean. Okay? But no, I do not operate like that. You know what I mean? I do not need to. So for myself, with all the spying that's gone on, my delicious little babies, they can already see how I live. There we are. I'm just a simple woman. I don't mean simple as in simple. What I mean is that I just do not really let anything bother me. If I get peed off about something, because of course I've been spying in my home, so there's a bug somewhere. There we are. And there still is. Do you see what I mean? Okay? Well, that pees me off sometimes, my delicious little babes, especially if I go to the toilet now. Just, there we are, simple things, just going to the toilet and they can hear, there we are, everything that you're doing. That would pee anybody off. There we are, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, just forget it. Just forget it. But the fact of the matter is that I'm just not one of those kind of women. You see these ones on flipping Instagram and all this, they've got the flipping, the body hanging out. And then they've got the, what I call your lettuce hanging out. And then you got your threatening bits hanging out. And then all this, that and the other, you know what I mean? You have to go to the hairdressers, you have to have your nails done, you have to have your makeup on your birthdays, you know what I mean? So you cannot come outside of your home or your yard, as they say in Jamaica. You cannot come out without anybody seeing your full birthdays. Well, what's all that about? Nobody should ever have to live like that, my delicious baby. She said, I'm just none of those things. I live, there we are, very simply. Simple things. I just live very simply. If I wanted, put it this way, my delicious babies, I'm not going to go into this. If I wanted, there we are, to make a lot of ka-ching, ching, ching, there we are. I could do it, there we are, right now, big time. I wouldn't even be doing my video to yourselves, my delicious babies. Do you follow me? But I choose not to. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? Anyway, maybe I've just overrun my tail, do you know what I mean? But old-fashioned Irish saying once again. But what I'm saying to you is that however some seem to, I'm not talking about your my delicious babies, okay? This is, there we are, to whom it may concern. you know, seem to view me now. Okay, there we are. Well, just rock on. Just get on your back and pedal fast, because you clearly just do not know myself now, isn't it? Because if you did, I would have thought you would have known me better than that. For all the time there we are, that you've been spying on myself, you know what I mean? But never mind, never mind. You know, I always believe, things will always, there we are, keep for another day. You know what I mean? Just like that loaf of bread, that you bought when you think it's fresh, and then the next day or 2 days after, you find it's flipping damn mouldy, man. If you go back decades ago, we never had no mouldy bread like that. Of course, we had mouldiness, but you never had what you got now. Anyway, maybe, there we are, I'll just drop something else in. Now then, my delicious little babies. So what is it that I've got to say? The first one, my delicious little babies. This is very interesting. Okay, let me just please tell you about our dear UK column. So this is Ryan Christian on questioning absolutely everything. Okay, my delicious little babies, yes. Okay, my delicious little babies, yes. So Ryan Christian, repeat once again, on questioning absolutely everything. Now, that's our lovely UK column. Now, the other one, my delicious babies, because I've got 2 more to go. So this one here happens to have 313,000 subscribers, my delicious babies. Comes to 7, doesn't it, my delicious babies? You have to see how this rocks and rolls, you know what I mean? You have to add, there we are, numbers together. And you see, YouTube's very good, there we are, at doing that. Okay, it's like I'm at 520, that comes to 7. Okay, my delicious babies, there we are. It's all a reason why. It's like if you looked at my views, of how many views I receive, they'll always do it, there we are, at a ballpoint figure. Okay, my delicious babies, there we are. Then you see how they're rocking and rolling. Okay, you add the numbers together, then it comes to something else. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? Anyway, there we are. I'm long time talking about this. Okay, my delicious, there we are. It's babies. Okay, so this one here is called George. I'm just going to spell it out for you in our old YouTube, my delicious little babies, because we're all on YouTube. George. Okay, so it's not got the E on the end. Interesting. Capital G EORG space capital R Rockall, which is capital ROCKALL, and then space Skmit. I should imagine that is how you pronounce it, so do forgive me if I've got it slightly wrong. Skmit. Okay, my babies, so it's capital SCHMRDT. Okay, my delicious babies, and this video should read just over an hour long, of course, with our lovely UK column. That's about 58 minutes long and so many seconds. This one here is an hour long, my delicious babies. The shameful case of Nestle. Okay, my delicious babies, just ticking all of these off as I go along, Look at Cinemix, SYNIMRX, Cinemix. On DuckDuckGo, my delicious babies. I've been done saying this a few times now in my videos. Okay, my delicious babies, you'll see there we are, all the ingredients. There we are, put it that way, what goes into everything, my delicious babies. Okay, interesting anyway. And finally, my delicious little babies, okay, so you've got, this one happens to have 506,000 subscribers, my delicious little babies, okay. Never came up on my feed. There we are, stumbled across when I was looking at something else, my delicious little babies. This uploader is called Atrocity, capital A, Atrocity space G Guard. So that's it, uploader, my delicious little babies, Atrocity space Guard. Now, this video is over, I've got to be honest, it's the longest video, okay, but not in a negative way. This is, there we are, over 2 hours long, Okay, Mads babies. Now for myself, there we are. I'm halfway through it, so I'm just being honest, okay? But I wouldn't advertise it. I would not advertise it. There we are, unless it was. There we are, super duper important. Okay, Mads babies, okay? So for some of the alternative media, sorry, do not need to stumble there. They may know about this, but for others of our beautiful little babies listening to me right now, you may not. Okay. So the video should read Master of the Temple, Hafen, the tragedy of Jack Parsons. Okay, Mads, baby, so I'm just going to repeat that again for you, shall I? Master of the Temple, Hafen, the tragedy of Jack Parsons. Okay, Mads, babies, I do believe, I think it's a couple of weeks ago now, this was. And according to looking at the comments, because like I always like to say, you know, please and thank you. It's important to take a look at some comments now. Do you see what I mean, Mads, babies? Yes. Interesting. So it seems that this uploader has not been uploading for a little while, but then they've there we are, come back with something. There we are. Do you see what I mean, Mads? It's kind of very interesting, actually. Very interesting. I could say Cole. Anyway, Mads, babies, okay. So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may your beautiful little selves and your beautiful little families all be fully protected. And how I love you so. And by the way, the video that I did yesterday evening, I just wasn't in the mood or in the mood for coming on my video. I do not take anything back. And please listen to another video of a Shady Share on YouTube, Mads, baby, Shady Share. That's the uploader. He happens to have 998,000 subscribers. I wasn't sure yesterday whether it was 996 or 998. Anyway, 2 days ago, Ben Habib. Well, let me tell you, Mads, babies, you know what I mean? He stood there to explain himself. Then you've got your other man there who's Muslim, who's saying that he's offended. And then Ben Habib, there we are. Shame on you, Ben Habib. I mean, bless your heart for whatever you're trying to do. There we are. Mads, babies. But you know what? You should not send no apology, no sorry to your man there now then. This is why we're in the mess we're in. Because you give too much power, there we are, to another. There we are. And this is why we're in the shit we're in. So that's not swearing, Mads, babies. That's why we're in the sharp we're in. There we are. Long time. Okay, Mads, babies. But when he said, oh, well, I apologise, I wouldn't have said, I said it out loud. You know, I was getting the sun rays, Mads, babies, you know what I mean? You know, squirting me water. I don't use sun lotion. I just squirt me water. You know what I mean, Mads, babies? I was listening to this. I was saying it out loud. I said, you do not apologise to nobody now. You know what I mean? What? So, for what Ben Habib was saying, there we are, that he must apologise to your man there. You're talking damn shit, man. You see, they're being given, there we are, too much. But like I said, they want to turn it, there we are, everything Muslim. So there we are. There we are. It's all across my show. And I know this for years. For years. There we are. I know this. You see what I mean? Like everybody must go to this damn dirty religion now. Now, someone say to me, well, what you've just said is wrong. No, it isn't wrong. Because I know some beautiful, dear little Muslims, so I'm not talking about theirs. I'm talking about this radicalisation, there we are, and this nasty business. That's what I'm referring to. So no, I do not take back what I've just said. It is dirty business, isn't it? Because it's bringing in, there we are, dirty rules, dirty what you must follow now. And before you know it, okay, unless you keep, there we are, your wits about you, all of a sudden, now, why do you think they've been bringing in long cardigans? Come on, come on. As one example, Mads, babies, why do you feel that they've been doing that? You got all of the different, doesn't matter what shop outlets. There we are. And somebody just came to my nod, and I'm just saying it. And then all of a sudden, I remember when cardigans were like this. But no, Then they get longer and longer and longer. Then dresses become longer and longer and longer. That's how they were done dropping it in India. There we are. Do you see what I mean, Marge? Babies, the next thing you know, they're wearing saris and then they're wearing this and that and the other now. So you only see the eyes now. Now, I've been talking to others who, there we are, Muslim, bless them. And I said, I do not agree with this and that they should, they're in hot clothing. And I've been done talking to, and there we are, they agree, there we are, with everything what I'm saying. Do you see what I mean? So at the end of the day, we cannot all be wrong, isn't it? You see what it is? They're never going to be done doing that to myself. I ain't wearing no flipping hijab. In fact, I might put it as my video, the title to my video. I am not wearing a hijab. And this is no disrespect to anybody who I know who wears a hijab. What I'm saying is they're doing it for their own reasons, like they believe in their God. Okay, because I've spoken, there we are, I've been done speaking to them, and even recently, there we are. So I already know, okay? But I already know a long time. But even if you go back decades ago, I never used to see, and this is being honest now, my babies, even with Pakistani shops, and everything like this. You never used to see all of this business now. It's like it's been put upon. There we are, Mardish babies. That's what's happened here. There we are, big times. Do you see what I mean? Well, I ain't doing it. Okay? And let me tell you, if I have to protest, my delicious little babies, okay? Because let me tell you, I'm going to keep this, there we are, as polite as what I can, my delicious babies. So let's try to end on a fruitful note. But if I have to go around with a bikini top on, okay, my delicious babies, a bikini top, okay, and a pair of shorts, okay, there we are, then that's what I'm going to be done doing. Because I am not going to be complying to this shit. No, I am not. Okay? And I ain't going to be dressing my damn self now. So all you see is your hands and your eyes. Okay? Because I'm not doing it. Or if they want you just to show your face. Okay? No, I'm not doing it. And in any religion, whatever that may be, and I'm not being rude, disrespectful, I'm not prejudiced, racist, I've no need to say that. The fact of the matter is, okay, is for a lot of the men, especially in these Middle East countries now, in the Middle East, right? This is, there we are, control. What, so nobody can see the woman? What is all this about? Yet the man, there we are, can walk out with a T-shirt and everything, and he can do what he wants. Go and get a massage, isn't it? Or go and do whatever he fancies, isn't it? Yes? Why do you think they brought that in with their law? You can have up to 4 wives. Do you see what I mean? In reality, what man can deal with 4 wives, especially after a jibby jab, because I should imagine not a lot. So that's not being nasty, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? But whatever stamina the man had, or their men, they certainly haven't got it now. My delicious babies, okay? So ones want me, there we are, to get damn raw now. There we are, I can get raw. You know what I mean? But if I really wanted to protest, and this is not a sign of madness because there's nothing wrong with my noddle, I will even go further than that. And I will walk around flipping damn topless. Don't they do that in parts of flipping Africa, my babies, okay? Where they walk topless and then they cover the bottom part, which they've been doing for decades, okay, my babies? Because in reality, when we were brought into the world, we were in our, there we are, what you call our birthday suits, which means that, really, we came in pure. But then over time, certain little lackeys, they want to dress us in these little clothes and little shoes and little brassiers and little boxer shorts and pants and little knickknacks and all of these things. And then jumpers and then sweaters, especially in our old England, babies, you know what I mean? When, you can have like summers, which there we are meant to be summers, which I remember, babies, okay? But then all of a sudden you've got to wear a cardigan, you've got to wear a jumper. What the effing hell is all that about? And then you've got to spend more on your gas and there we are, and your lecky. You see what I mean? Because you put anything out on the land and it starts to pee down with rain, babies, and then you cannot get it dry unless you've got one of these areas which you hang everything on. That's an old-fashioned thing. I had one decades ago, babies. I just prefer to either put it on the land, which I do, just to let it air. Do Do you see what I mean? The clothes, Mardish babies. Can I just say that they smell fresh, you know what I mean? They're fresh and clean, isn't it? Mind you, they drop the sharp water. Because I noticed there were more flowers around myself. Oh, yeah. So I've had a shower. Okay, Mardish and I shall have another shower there we are shortly. Mardish babies kind. But what is it that attracted the flowers to myself? Now, some would say, oh, well, flowers only go around short. Well, actually, I'm not short. I'm talking about, on a serious note, what is it that is attracting there we are, the flowers that's on your skin? What is it that's attracting? There we are, just a question, simple thing, just asking a question. So if the water is clean and fresh, and like I said, a couple of weeks ago, it was coming out brown in the tap. I asked somebody else, another neighbour in another road, and they said, oh, yes, it was coming out brown. They said it before I said it. So what is it that ones are paying 300-400 quid a year for? Okay, Mardish babies that they're not receiving. Well, I do not pay water. That's the first time, there we are, that you've ever heard me say that. But I haven't paid water for about, was it 5 years? I haven't paid water for about 5 years now. Because I believe, there we are, it is free. I haven't paid my council tax. What is it? Like I said, I thought it was free. It's 5. I haven't paid that either, Mardish babies, you know what I mean? Because I believe, there we are, that it is free. Why should we have to pay? Why should anybody who's living in a rented property, and I rent, but why should anybody have to pay a property tax? Like for an extra room, which they brought out years ago, Mardish babies, that was crippling. I do not mean in literal terms. I'm talking a figure of speech. That was crippling. Absolutely crippling. Ones who had 2 and 3 bedroom houses, Mardish babies, 25 quid, ka-ching, ching, ching a time. So for those of you Mardish babies, you will, there we are, know what I'm talking about. For others of you, look into it. There we are, that's what they did. It's called the bedroom tax. So for many, they will know. Do you know what I mean? So before you even buy a pint of milk, a loaf of bread, a bag of flour, you've got to pay out another 25, ka-ching, ching, ching, just for an extra room. Just for having that extra room. They're robbing bees, man. Robbing bees. Do you remember, if you go back to that putrid Margaret Thatcher? You know, I hear videos where they big her up, just like Winston Churchill, they big him up. The birth piece of shit. Right, there we are. Yeah, straight across my shoulders. They're a piece of shit, man. Ones seem to have a very selective memory. What do they call it? Is it amnesia in some cases? They seem to forget about their dirty business, what they did. There we are. These putrid. Do you know what I mean? And one of them was the poll tax. And they put a dear elderly lady behind bars, mind you. She had to come straight back out because everybody was out protesting to do with the poll tax. Do you see what I mean, Mardish babies, car? So the fact of the matter is, if ones, there we are, ding, ding, dong, dong, start to use, bless their beautiful, dear little souls, because we do have many, okay? We have not lost the war yet, and we shall not lose the war, okay? There we are, because we've already won. There we are. We've already won. There we are. All across here, we've already won. There we are. Big times. Okay? What they're trying to do is claw back what they cannot get. Remember the AI. Remember everything they're trying to sell. Do you see what I mean? And let's go back to our old cars in our old England, okay? Let's look at why they're born in the USA. I'm going to keep going on about this, why they want this, the cars and everything, okay? You've got to look at, and one more thing I want to mention to you, Mardish babies, okay? Sorry, I'm saying so much when I should be just, you know, over and out. You know, in London, where they're snatching one's dog and burns. Now, I said this to somebody else the other day, Mardish babies, right? And I thought to myself, hold on. I thought, there we are. This is bad design, what they're doing. Because if you look, and I put up a video and I give out information, okay, you get a lot of silver and a lot of gold out of these dog and burns. Okay, Mardish babies, but at the same time, there we are, you can get all the information, there we are, you can get all the data on whoever it is. So I reckon, there we are, this has been done, there we are, on purpose. Okay, So they're deliberately going like that. We had it a number of years ago. It used to be the hijacking in where was it, in another part of Birmingham. Okay, Madlish babies, and you couldn't sit at the traffic lights, because if you did, then somebody would just come up and they do not ramp. You know what I mean? And they just take what they want. You see what I mean? Okay. So we had it, there we are, years ago, but now it's gone from that. I'm looking at about 20 odd years ago when, there we are, when that happened. Mards little babies, okay? But now it's gone from that to this. Do you see what I mean? On scooters, on bikes and everything. But I reckon, there we are, they're going to a master. Yeah, you know that song Oliver? You know that film Oliver? There we are. You remember the film Oliver, Mardish Babies. For most of you, you would have watched it. You know, where they have to go back and then he's got his beautiful little baby called Bulldog. You know, then you got that putrid. Who was it who played that part? You'll know who it is, Mardish's little baby. Is it Oliver Reed? But you'll remember, it's like that. There we are. So I reckon they're all doing it, because not only as one's paid a lot of ka-ching, ching, ching for the dog and burns, because don't forget, everybody wants apple, apple, apple. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, okay? But in this case, an apple a day, you know, can make many ka-ching, ching, ching, many flipping change now. Grands, isn't it? Right? So not only are they getting the dog and burn back, so they're melting down the plastic, they're getting out the gold or silver, plus they're getting your damn data, man. There we are. It's like all in the bush. You see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? So I'm just pointing it out. I'm not laughing about it. I'm just, there we are, just done telling it the way it is. So these, there we are, paid to do what they're doing, just like Oliver Twist, like the film. There we are. There we are. Okay, my delicious babies, you know. What do they say? Follow the ka-ching, ching, ching, follow the change. And see, there we are, where it leads back. Okay, so you probably found for them, you know, they'll probably get a, you know, not such a high price, but for the one who's delivering, there we are, the goods, you know, just like Bulldog, you know, with in Oliver Twist, you know, he's getting ka-ching, ching, ching, he's cut. But guess what happened? Do you remember the end of Oliver Twist, Mards Little Babies? What happened? They had that bridge, they had everything that went on, and then he went to his let's just say the ending. Mards Little Babies, you know what I mean? But of course, what should we just say? I just got that song, The Never Ending Story. Oh, the never ending story. So what they do, there we are, they just reinvent. There we are. And that's what they've done. Okay, Maddish baby, so there we are. As long as there we are, ones can understand now. There we are. Ding ding dong dong, common sense. Never need to stumble there what's going on. Job done. Anyway, very last thing. I was listening to he came back up on my feed, Johnny, you know. Johnny, what's his name? What is it? The Fine Young Cannibals. I'm worried, but you come on home. Fine Young Cannibals, mad little babies. If you actually look back in history, you will see a pattern, which means that really they actually introduced cannibalism to do with eating our beautiful little babies. We've all gone through it. I used to be a meat eater. I'm not saying anything against anybody who eats meat. No, I am not, okay? But I'm just saying, there we are. So they introduced it, isn't it? But then behind the scenes, there we are, they're eating other meat. You see what I'm saying, okay? There we are, they've been doing it for decades. Do you see what I mean, Mards, babies? So when you actually, there we are, ding, ding, dong, dong, look at these things now. There we are. Then you say, do you see what I see? Do you hear what, there we are, what I hear? Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Anyway, Johnny, Jonny. No, I do not mean Johnny as in the other one. Well, that's really not going to be much use to many, and I do not mean to hurt, offend, or upset anybody who has very sadly taken. My heart goes out to them all, apart from the effers who pushed the old jibby jab. They're not going to be needing Johnny. Won't you come on home? No, they're not going to need that because they're firing blanks anyway, Mads. Baby, it's all by design, all by design. Okay, Mads, baby, so if my video gets put down, well, it gets put down, doesn't it? There's nothing I can do about it, you know what I mean? I'm just, there we are, talking out loud. There we are, speaking my noddle. Do you see what I mean, Mads, baby's car? Johnny Mozza, MOZZA. I did advertise him a few days ago, actually. I'll tell you what, he can make the flipping cat laugh, you know. Okay? I'm not too sure that I agree about this flat earth and all this business, but what I am going to say to you is this, okay? Let me tell you, I can chat for England, Ireland, there we are, Scotland and Wales. I can talk, but let me be done telling you. You see your man there doesn't come up for air, man. He just carries on going. But fair play to him. But the other thing, you know, nothing that way, nothing that way. But the other thing that I like about him, he dresses old fashioned, you know, like looks like more 60s, 50s, 60s, you know, like 60s, 70s, like that. And what he was talking about is that he wants to have a family. Oh, bless. Well, I hope he gets his wish, you know what I mean? But then he's talking about the climate change and talking about other things. I think he's getting a little bit carried away, so he needs to wind his neck in now a bit, you know what I mean? Mind you, since I advertised him, he went from 58 to 60,000 subscribers. There we are, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? So must be doing there we are something correctly. Anyway, my delicious little babies. But yes, I did actually put on his latest video. I said thank you. The last two actually, I put thank you and bright blessings on the one, and then I put on his most recent, which was just a number of hours ago. My delicious babies, and I did put, you know, I have advertised you, you know, a few, you know, days ago. Okay, my delicious babies. Okay, so I've already advertised him. So hopefully, he's the one who has given up the drinking. He's packed up the drinking. But if you look at the comments, Mads babies, because you won't see a lot, okay? But he's saying that he wants to give up smirking, you know, the old ciggy figgies. But what he does, he's like having a proper puff. Do you know what I mean, Mads baby? Honestly. But the things he comes at, you know, nothing that way, nothing that way. But the things he comes at, you know, it made the flipping cat laugh, man. Do you know, I was flipping laughing in my garden. I thought, you are so flipping funny. Do you know what I mean? He probably does not realise how funny he is, how amused he is, you know, like when you listen to him. It's because he just doesn't come up for air. He just carries on and just keep on trying, you know, and hopefully bless him. You know, because he was asking on his latest video, where does everybody want to be in 5 years? Come on, I heard this saying, right? Because I'm a lot older than your man there now, then. You know what I mean? I heard this saying back when I was flipping 15. Do you know what I mean? There we are. Do you know what I mean? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? He's asking it now in 2025. Do you follow me? Yeah, man, just babies anyway. He's so fun. You know, nothing that way, nothing that way. But I hope that he gets his girlfriend because he wants a girlfriend and he wants a little family. But let me tell you, your man can chat to no end, man. Honestly. But he's just flipping hilarious. You have to, I feel that you have to get the humour. You know what I mean? And there we are. Once you get the humour, you think, you know what? Your man there's banging. He's one of these dry humoured. So, like, imagine the comedians like decades ago, okay? And he's just dry humoured. But like, say if you look at our dear Alex Belfield, right? I mean, he can flipping make the cat laugh, man. Bless his dear little soul. You know, like I said, with anybody nothing that way, okay? Oh, he can make the flipping cat laugh, man. I can actually laugh out loud. And I was doing the same with Johnny Mozza on old YouTube, man. It's the things that he comes out with, but he talks so quickly. Do you know what I mean? You got to, there we are, follow what he's saying. Do you know what I mean? But flipping hilarious, man. You know, I was laughing my head off in the garden. I thought, you know what? I thought, you know, you are just flipping something else. You know what I mean? But he's funny. But he looks like old fashioned, like he wants to keep the, you know, how we used to be. Do you know what I mean? More freer and everything. That's how he came across to me and how he comes across to me. But he just came back up on my face. So I thought, you know what? I'll just listen to a couple of his videos. But let me tell you, I was very flipping humoured. I found him flipping hilarious. Do you understand what I mean? You just got to get him. There we are. Do you know what I mean? Once you get him, you know where he's coming from. You know what I mean? Okay. Oh, do you know what I think that himself and our lovely, not in that way, not in that way, our lovely dear Alex Belfield, you know, they should flipping join forces, you know. You know what I mean? They'd be a flipping brilliant double act. Honestly, no joke, Martin, baby, you know what I mean? They'd have a flipping room of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 flipping howling, man. Do you see what I mean? Okay, that's what we need. We need to bring back the comedians. We need to bring back all of these things that these seem to find offensive. What? Because we're telling the damn truth. And of course, you know, you got our lovely not in that way, not in that way, our lovely Chubby Brown. I think our dear Alex Belfield mentioned, yeah. I mean, I remember there we are decades ago watching Chubby Brown. I never forget, you know, when he had the M&S, you know, the Marks and Sparks carrier bag Martish babies, and what he was talking about, you know, one of his videos, you know, Chubby Brown, right, is it was saying that, you know, one's to say, okay, let's just say for argument's sake, they're going to Aldi, right, but they're walking in with the Marks and Sparks. Do you see what I'm saying? Like they're walking to a Waitrose, but they're going in with the Marks and Sparks and they're putting all the produce in there. Do you follow what I'm saying, Martin Space? Okay? Flip me, I tell you what. Chubby Brown, there was something else, man. Honestly, and I remember him flipping decades ago. But then when I heard that he was cancelled as well, I thought, what the flipping hell's going on here? You know what I mean? Like anything that was brilliant is flipping gone because of these. Because they don't allow the damn truth, isn't it? They don't allow when somebody tells the damn truth, but then so say that. They've lived a different life, quite clearly. You know what I mean? But for the rest of us out here, you know, there we are. We do seem to have, there we are. And we do truly to our hearts, there we are, have a personality. You know what I mean, Marzish babies, eh, man? So wherever you are in the world, and so very much love to each and every one of you, even, you know, whoever I have, not in that way, okay? With anybody. You know, whoever I advertise, okay? So very much love, okay? I wanted to end, there we are, on a good note, okay, Marzish babies. But next time you clock these, you know, they're probably living in their 4 or 5 bedroom, there we are, flipping houses now, okay? And then they're coming in. I've watched them. I clocked them in Aldi. And then they got their Waitrose bags. You know what I mean? Yet they went and shopped at Aldi. Do you follow me? Marzish babies. Anyway, so, you know, you just take care. Please look after yourselves now and please try to look after others. Okay? They've been doing this, there we are, long time, for decades. This is nothing new. You know what I mean? If somebody wants to look better, what do? They walk out with a Marks and Sparks or a Next bag or a River Island or an Oasis bag. Do you understand what I mean? I can't, just so that they look a bit better, you know what I mean? Rather than, I suppose, having Tesco's or anything like that now, you know, lots of Tesco's, isn't there? Okay, Marzish baby's not seeing so much of Sainsbury's these days. Seeing a lot of Tesco's and Asda. Okay, Marzish babies. All right. So, yeah, peace, love, and harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you prepared to go. And may your beautiful little selves, your beautiful little families all be fully protected. But yeah, banging, man. Do you know what I mean? And this is, there we are, why we have won. There we are. Do you see what I mean? That's just babies, okay? So as long as we have ding, ding, dong, dong, there we are. That in our noddle and in our heart, nothing can take anything away from us. Do you follow me, Marzish babies? Yes. Love you. Good night.